Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Thank you so much for coming. Diane, hello. Bruce, hello. John Mark, and then some people I don't know yet, but we'll get to know each other. Monica, sorry we had so much difficulty getting you in. That was weird.
Yeah, that was anyway, it is what it is. We're here.
Technology.
Yeah.
And somebody else who's been locked out that for reasons I just can't keep up with. And Sarah, you got in. Did Sarah get in? Well, she'll join us eventually, I hope too. It turns out that my settings said no internationals, which was not my intention at all. So we had to fix it. So welcome everybody to this class. I'm calling it Craft and Career, taking your filmmaking to another level. And I realized that really everything that I do is about that. Everything I do is about how do we upgrade as filmmakers? How do we take the next step as a filmmaker in our career? And everything that I do is about, I have one client who said to me, oh, Joanne is all about increasing income to filmmakers. And I was like, oh yeah, that's me. That's what I do. Because I'm always like, what do I do? Oh, that's what I do. So welcome to those of you who don't know me. My name is Joanne Butcher. I am a business coach and I work with filmmakers. And one of the reasons that I do the work that I do is because, well, I love film. More than that, I love filmmakers. My filmmakers are my heroes. And also that for reasons that I don't fully understand, the filmmaking world is extremely opaque. And the filmmaking world is a mystery to most filmmakers. And there are some good reasons for that I do understand. And then there are reasons for that I don't understand. But it's a very, very opaque world. So I feel as though if I can kind of provide some guidance so that filmmakers know what they're supposed to do, what they're supposed to do next, that's really helpful, because what I find is that filmmakers are stuck in a certain set of places that are really all the same places. And they tend to think it's them, it's like, oh, it's me, I'm procrastinating, or I'm lazy, or I'm this, or I'm that. But the truth is that, they're just stuck in one of these particular places that everybody else is stuck in as well. And those places are about the same 5 places for everybody. So if we can get out of those stuck places, then we can move forward. So I know that there are a number of people who are not here who have bought the class and are going to be watching the recording. So I just want to say welcome to you. It's very hard to watch recordings, is all I can say. So good for you for up-leveling your education. One of the things that I think about filmmakers is that they tend to not know anything about the business. So the fact that you have chosen to be here, Sonia's like, that's me. The fact that you have chosen to be here at all and try and learn this stuff is already great. One of the things that I talk about a lot, I'm actually in the process of writing a book, and I'm doing a little thinking about why it's so mysterious, why the filmmaking path is so mysterious. And one of the things that I know is that even if you watch a show like Entertainment Tonight, they love to interview actors because everybody loves actors, you know, the more famous, the better. And Entertainment Tonight might, once in a blue moon, interview a director. Maybe. Probably not, you know, but once in a blue moon, there's some director out there who's famous enough that they would actually get on a show like Entertainment Tonight. I can assure you Entertainment Tonight is never going to interview a producer. And yet producers are the ones who handle the business, who raise the money, and who actually get things done. But they're never going to make it on Entertainment Tonight. The only time that they are given kind of the top billing is at the Oscars, you know? So we go through Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Best Director, Best Screenplay, all this. And then we get to Best Film, it's like the end, and it's done. You know, and then there's the famous case of Moonlight, when they read out the wrong film. You know, they read out La La Land, and the whole team from La La Land comes up on stage, and then somebody has to go, no, that's the wrong film. It's Moonlight, actually. I mean, crazy. So then La La Land has to come off the stage, and the whole team of Moonlight gets on the stage, about 15 people. And that's probably the first time that the audience really noticed producers, because there was such a mess up. But that's the only time that producers ever get any acknowledgement. And what people actually remember is Best Film. You know, they remember the film. They don't remember any of the names of the producers. They're just a bunch of people in suits, you know, so usually suits. But anyway, so a lot of times, this is the reason that we actually don't have the information that we need, is because the producers are never the people who are actually interviewed. And then if they are interviewed, then what happens is they talk about their most recent film. So let's say they're on feature film number 10. If you're trying to make your first feature film, I can assure you, you have nothing you can learn from somebody on their 10th film. Absolutely nothing. But that's how it goes. So, you know, over the years, I've kind of pondered this question, like, why are filmmakers who have some information, why is it all wrong? And this is my favorite reason why. Because if you are listening to one of the very, very, very rare occasions that a producer is being interviewed, they're talking about 10, 15, 20 years into their process, and nobody's going to bother asking them how they made their first film. You know, so you just never get that information. You never hear it. So I'm always interested in fact, we just finished every other week, I have an interview series called The Filmmaker's Life. And we interview filmmakers and we talk to them about how they are building their filmmaking careers. And even when I have people, in fact, I'm having somebody on October the 6th who has made 19 films. But when I interview her, I'll be talking about her first film. So I want to know how they started, how they got going, you know, because really that's the information that we need and that is more interesting for us. Okay, somebody is not getting in. So let me just send her, oh, I pressed the wrong thing. Let me just send her the Zoom link. Okay. I don't know. All I know is that Mercury is in retrograde, so nothing seems to be working right, because we've never had these problems before. All right, so I'm going to teach this class today with the goal of really having you experience a transformation, and at the end of our 2 days to be able to say, you know, I really know what I'm supposed to do next. I'm not confused anymore. I'm not in the dark anymore. I'm not unclear anymore about what my next step is. That's my goal. And if for those of you who signed up for the VIP, next week we'll get into it more then. But basically, my goal is that everybody is unstuck, everybody is clear, everybody has a clear path, a clear vision about what the next step is and where they want to go. And you'll see, nothing that I ever teach is rocket science, but sometimes I think in the film world, it sounds as if it is. It sounds as if it is rocket science, and it isn't. So, but my goal is that you have absolute clarity by the end of this. And we will have kind of segments that I'm going to go through. We'll have breaks. We'll have times that you all can meet each other, because networking is a fantastic skill for filmmakers that they need to learn. And so we'll be doing that along the way. And basically, I'm going to go through, in the next 2 days, go through the way that a filmmaker can build their career and can go from one step to the next, and keep moving up and moving along. So before we begin, let me just find my, okay. We are going to have this session go until, well, it's 1:45 my time. So we're going to go to 2:15 with this session, and then we'll have a little break. And then it's only going to be a 15-minute break, but we'll come back at 2:30 my time and have the second session. And today we're going to start talking about shorts. And then this afternoon, we're going to go into making your first feature. And tomorrow, we're going to have all the exciting stuff. We're going to talk about raising money, and we're going to talk about the 7 different ways of fundraising. So I believe that as we grow as filmmakers, we also need to grow our ability to raise money. And that's something that nobody out there is teaching, is all I can say. I mentioned in one of my emails this week, my friend and colleague, Tanya Kersey, was the one person that I knew who was a business coach who taught business to filmmakers, and she passed away a couple of months ago. So I guess it's me now. Tanya had been coaching for about 40 years. So she was very, very early on in the world of coaching. And she had been coaching filmmakers for a very long time. So first of all, I would like to give a little introduction to me. And for those of you who already know me, you know, you can sing to yourself or something. So my name is Joanne Butcher. Oh, last week I was on the jury. Oh, this is not mine. This is mine. I was on the jury of the Brazilian Film Festival here in Miami, and I cannot tell you how happy I was to be on the jury again. And when I came to Miami back in, I don't know, the 80s, I met the Brazilians at their first film festival, and they didn't know what they were doing, but they had a great time. If you've ever been around Brazilians, that's really Brazil, right? That's really Brazilians. They don't care if they don't know what they're doing, but they're certainly going to have a good time, whatever they're doing. So somebody from the city of Miami Beach sent them to me and they said, go and ask Joanne how to raise money. And I was like, me, what? So basically I taught them how to put their first grant together and taught them how to raise money. And then we ended up being in partnership for many years. This is now the 26th year of the film festival. And finally, they had me put together their education program. And I've been on the jury many times. I have this odd, you know, I'm British and Trinidadian, but I now have this odd expertise in Brazilian film as a result of this. But as these 26 years have gone by, you know, at the time I was running a cinema. We were a first run cinema, and we showed films when they first came out. We reported our numbers to the box office numbers that you read in the newspaper. And we also had a film school where we taught filmmakers the craft of filmmaking. And that was a nonprofit organization. And when I became the executive director of the nonprofit, part of my job was raising $500,000 a year to pay for staff and run the cinema. We were open 365 days a year. And so I really had learned fundraising. So by the time that I met the Brazilians, I actually did know how to raise money, and they didn't know anything. So I was able to teach them. And eventually what I realized was that all our classes were really for beginner filmmakers. And what were we doing for the filmmakers who were more advanced, for the filmmakers who had already made a feature film? So I got everybody together. There were about 10 filmmakers who'd already made a feature film. And I put a focus group together and asked them what they needed. And, you know, one thing that I learned that night about independent filmmakers is they're very independent, so they didn't need any help. What they needed, though, was money. And ever since then, I have basically now I've devoted my whole life to teaching filmmakers how to raise money. And I work one-on-one with clients, and my clients are anything from super beginners who are making their first short film with me. And nowadays I actually give them two choices. When they come to me and they're going to make a short film, their choices are, you can either raise $11,000 or $12,000. Those are the choices, because that's actually one way of helping people reduce the decision making. You know, reduce the decision making. Well, I don't know how much. Okay, it's 11 or 12. Okay, and maybe in a year or two it'll be a bit bigger, but for now, 11 or 12. I mostly have clients who already have experience making films. Not all of them, but I mostly have clients who've already made films. I have a client who's the director of a film school, for example. But the truth is, and he wouldn't mind me saying this, he didn't know anything about raising money. You know, he knows how to run a film school, he knows how to teach filmmakers, but he doesn't know anything about raising money, or he didn't. So I started teaching filmmakers how to raise money. And then eventually for the reasons that really Miami Beach became, you know, incredibly expensive, and it was kind of our fault. You know, we brought all the artists there, we brought all the cool stuff, you know, to Miami Beach, and we got priced out of the market. And so eventually I left the organization, and I decided, and I'm telling you this now, it sounds stupid now, but sounded like a good idea at the time. I decided that I was going to get out of film, I was going to get out of the arts, and I was going to get a real job. So I moved to San Francisco, and I was hired to raise $38 million to build a new YMCA in San Francisco. And I thought, cool, $38 million, no problem. Except that the YMCA head office people really didn't want us to do it. And they kept putting blocks in the way, and I'm just not really into that very much. So I'm not somebody who's really interested in having doors closed in my face. I found out a few years ago, just before my mother died, she told me this story that when she and my father first got married, my mother's white, my father's black, he's from Trinidad and Tobago, that after they got married, she went to look for an apartment for them to live in. And she got this apartment, and she was going to rent this apartment. And she said to the lady, well, I'm going to send my husband over with the deposit. So my father showed up black, and the woman said, oh, we don't have a room to rent. So he went to some of his friends and borrowed some money and put a deposit down and bought a house. And when I heard that story, I was like, oh, that's why I'm the way that I am. I just got it from my dad. It's like, oh, you said no. Okay, I will do something else, So I really believe that's kind of in my DNA, It's like, no problem, So I left that particular job and I went over to Youth Radio, which was another youth organization, and they train young people to be broadcast journalists. Brilliant organization. If you ever listen to NPR and hear a kid on the radio, it's from Youth Radio. And I went there to raise $5 million to build their new building, which is still there in Oakland, doing great. And then I became too sick to work. And the doctors didn't know what was wrong with me. And I didn't know what was wrong with me. I thought that I was lazy because I was laying in bed a lot. I was eventually put into the chronic pain management clinic at Kaiser. And they said to me, a year ago, we gave you some migraine medication, and now there's no more medications for us to give you, and you're having a migraine every day. So we don't know anything else to do with you except put you in the chronic pain management program. And we suggest that you stop working because you're never going to work again. Remember what I just said about people telling me no? So it took me 7 years. I spent 7 years in bed. Too sick to work. But I emerged from that sick bed. It was like being dead and people have actually come up to me and said, I thought you were dead. But I emerged from that and I started out, working just a little bit at a time. And I thought, maybe running an organization is not necessarily what I'm going to do, but I can work one-on-one with clients. And now that might be 6 years ago. But anyway, I consider myself a well person today, even though I do get migraines, but I consider myself a well person. And I don't spend any time, in bed. And I learned that I wasn't lazy. I learned that I have something wrong with my thyroid, and it hadn't even been discovered yet by doctors. So that's part of my story. And I started working one-on-one with filmmakers because I thought, well, if I only have a little tiny bit of energy, I'd rather be doing what I want to do. I'd rather work with filmmakers. And when I met my business coaches, I had no money. I had been through all my savings. I had run up all my credit cards. I really had nothing left. And I had started working part-time. And it was a big deal for me because I was working 5 days a week part-time. It was just a few hours a week. And that company that I worked for, where I had studied coaching, brought my business coaches in one day. I'd been working part-time for 5 months at that point. And they came in, and after 20 minutes, I was like, oh my God, I have to work with these people. They know exactly what they're talking about. And it's exactly the help that I need. They have a clear path. I'm going to start working with them. And their program cost $15,000, and I had nothing. absolutely nothing. And they said the deposit is $1,500. I said, well, I don't have that. And they said, well, do you have $1,000? And I said, no. And finally they said, let's open your bank account and have a look and see in your bank account. I said, I can tell you how much is in my bank account. There's $204, and that's my groceries for the next month. And I gave them $200 deposit, and they let me in the program. And I have never felt anything except profound gratitude that they let me in, and they gave me the opportunity to pay them that $15,000, because they told me exactly what to do, how to run my business, blah, 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 blah. And I still today do exactly what they told me to do back then. And when I finished paying them, I didn't pay $15,000 up front because I had no money. I paid it over time. And after I finished paying, I said, did I ever show up and ask you for an extension or say I couldn't pay? And they said, no. And I said, you know, I knew when I signed up with them, I knew that my life was over unless I could find something to radically change my life. And I believed that they could help me do that. And it radically changed my life. And it set me off on a path of being an entrepreneur, which frankly, I had always wanted to do, but I was too scared to do. I was too afraid to do it. And I had wanted that for 20 years before I met them, for 20 years. And somebody finally came and said, I can help you do it. I was, oh my God. And then anything they told me to do, I did it. If they told me to stand on my head or dye my hair green or something, I was in, you know, and I just did everything that they said. And when I got my first client, my first filmmaker client, oh my God, I was just over the moon. I think it took me like another 6 months to get another client, but I was over the moon. And that's what I've been doing ever since. And I help filmmakers raise money, whether it's $11,000 at the top end right now. We're raising $3 million for one of my clients' films. He's a very experienced filmmaker. And we're raising $3 million to make a documentary. It's going to be his 9th or 10th feature film. So, and I have everything in between. Everything in between 11,000 and 3 million. So that's what I do. That's me. And if anybody is interested in talking to me about working together, we will do that after these 2 days, because I'm too busy. Okay. So I have a question for you. I'm going to put you all so I can see you all. And for those of you who are not on video, please come on video so that I can see hands raised, hands raised. All right. How many people in the room have already made a short film? Okay, okay. How many people in the room have already made a feature film? One. That's my client. That's awesome. All right, let me just do it again. How many people have already made a short film? Okay, Sonia's working on her short. Excellent, excellent. So we've got to get Bruce and Arvin to make their first short film. Anybody else we need to help make your first short film? Anybody else we need to help? All right. So what I want to do to start is I want to start talking about short films. And I want to ask the question, what do you think is the value of making a short film? And I'm going to put you into breakout sessions. And I'm going to put, I wanted to take our first break at 2:15 think we will. I'm going to put you three in a group, and I would like you to talk about what you think is the value of making a short film. And there may be many, it's not just necessarily one, but what do you think is the value of making a short film? And why aren't I seeing breakout? Oh, here we go, breakout rooms. They changed it. 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to do math to be able to do this. It's unbelievable. 1, 2, 3, 4, 26. Let me make 6 breakout rooms, and we'll come back in 6 minutes. So you each have 2 minutes. Okay. What do you think is the value of a short film? Here we go. See you back in 6 minutes. There should be something there, Mark and Yinka, for you to go into a room. Yinka? Can you hear me, Yinka? Oh, you may be, I think you might be at work. Anyway, there's something you need to click on to be able to go into the room. If you can hear me, have a look at your computer. But you might not be able to do it. So, all right. Oh, I think I lost him. Everybody should be on their way back. Right. Numbers I'm looking for. There we go. All right, is everybody back? Is everybody back? All right, so what did you come up with as some ideas about what's of value about short films? What did you come up with?
Well, as for me personally, I'm primarily an actor, and making a short film and taking on a producer role and a director role, it gave me insight into the entire process, from the funding and everything. So it gave me this insight, which is really, really important, I think, as an actor. And the other piece of it for me was getting my work seen, like, submitting to film festivals or whatever. If you can create content, then you can be seen.
Excellent. And I'm looking around to see who said that, who answered that. Oh, Phyllis. Okay, thank you. That was an awesome answer. So I love actors who when they make shorts, because they get to see more of the process. And did you do the fundraising as well yourself?
I self-funded.
Okay. All right. Well, never again. Okay.
Let's hope.
Never again. Sonia, what about you? What's the value of making short films for you?
For me, as let's call it wet behind or green behind the ears, making shorts, is that you gain experience. You learn the do's and don'ts of what it takes to create a film, period.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, when you have an opportunity to submit that film to short film festivals and see what you can improve on, you get a lot of critique, and to get your name out there as well. So that was one of the things that I thought about for that.
Mm-hmm. Who else has an idea about Mark?
Hi, I said something that is interesting, but maybe isn't the best thing, but okay, I should stop that. I said you can garner awards, which can help which can uplift your profile. I got, like, I am now a Davy Award winning or a Telly Award winning filmmaker, that kind of a thing.
Okay. Yep.
Qualify your work. You can qualify your work in a really good way. I won Toronto Comedy Shorts film, best short at Toronto Comedy Shorts. So uplifting sort of your profiling, giving you some gravitas.
Okay, great. What else? Monica, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, it depends, as a screenwriter or a film director, you need to show that you can tell a story in cinematic terms and, engage the audience emotionally, because that's extremely important. For a director, it's a calling card that he, she, or they can actually, if they're given money, are they putting it, to good use?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because it's such a different form of storytelling, right?
Different from what?
Oh, from poetry, theater. And maybe
Started
people
out as a poet is different.
yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
that's my contribution.
Yes,
I'm so
lovely.
sorry to chime in again, but it just dawned on me that one of the things that that I didn't say. What do you think the value of making a short film could? It could be just be even motivation, because I remember when I did my very first short, I was sitting at a point in my acting career with nothing going on. And that renewed my motivation and inspiration to move forward. So it did help me get unstuck.
Oh, okay. That I think is more important even than the motivation. It's something to do, you know. Okay, Sarah, go ahead.
It's a very powerful, a short is a very powerful, as a writer, I think it's a really powerful method to get an idea across. In terms of directing and producing as well, it's a really good discipline on how to spend money wisely, i.e. putting it on the screen. Because if you haven't got much money, you can still do it, and you have to be so disciplined. And then in terms of writing, the same way, if you're writing for a short.
It sounds as though you're a Brit, Sarah.
I am indeed.
Where are
Hey,
you from?
just outside Bath, southwest.
Okay, I'm from London, in I.
There you go.
South
See?
London, in I. Nice to meet you. Who else? Mark G. Mark G has a comment.
Yeah, am I unmuted now? So the first film I made in film school, I had never heard of the term Murphy's Law, that anything that could go wrong would go wrong. And the dean of the film school was, when I complained to him about all the troubles and trials and tribulations I'd had making that film, he said, "It's Murphy's Law." And yeah, so what's happened for me over the years, when if for some reason it magically happens with filmmaking, is that what I've learned is to kind of actually trust that the right thing happens, even if you think sometimes you think something's the wrong thing, and because it's different than what you had in your mind. But when you're out there on the set or in the field, or you have to roll with the punches, and you have to learn how to make lemonade when you get served lemons.
Nice.
I know that the last day of shooting of my feature film, we were supposed to film at the conference center where my main character had lived, and we had a bunch of books that we were supposed to photograph in a bookshelf that was locked. And once we got there, we were told that we couldn't open it up. We'd have to photograph through the glass. And the next day, somebody showed up with all the books.
Nice.
And we shot through the glass, and it was great footage. It all worked out. So the thing I learned is that you can't judge where your destination is for where you are right now. And I always like to use the concept of driving on California Highway 1 along the coast. You're actually going north, but sometimes you're going west, sometimes you're going east, sometimes you're going south. And so you just have to be where you are at the time, and trust and learn how to make serendipity work for you.
Yes.
I call them
Plan well,
synchronicities.
plan well, and then
Throw it out the window.
Yeah. Kremina, you have this background there with this blue sky and these puffy white clouds that just look like something out of a photo. So what do you think the value is of making a short film?
For me, it was a great test to see how I like working with people, in that setting, whether the challenges that come up are charging me, or I don't know, depleting my energy in the longer run.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was I think the most value that I felt in my heart. That's what made me decide that I can take this on and start on my first feature. Yeah.
Fabulous. Well, I was ready to jump on anybody who said anything about making money, and none of you did. Yes, so you all passed the test. I met a filmmaker recently who said, how do I get my money back to my investor? And I was like, is this a feature? And he said, no, it's a short. And I said, how much money did you get? And he said, $60,000. How do we get it back to the investor? And I was like, you know, that's not going to happen. It's not, you can't make money on shorts. And he was like, oh, well, okay, I need 25 million to make my first feature. I was just like, oh dear, you know, where do you start? So, but this is what I'm talking about, filmmakers having wrong information to such a degree, you know. All right, so I'm just gonna share my screen. Let's see if this is gonna work. So I made this little, let's see, this has to be the most simple slide deck you've ever seen, but I wanted to share it with you. And so I think that nearly all filmmakers start with a short film. I have a client, I had her on today on the Filmmaker's Life, who went straight into a feature, no experience, never been on a set, never made a film, because one of my fundamental concepts is what we do as filmmakers is we learn to raise money, and then we can hire people who are real professionals and know what they're doing. And so she was able to, she raised about $70,000, and I just saw the rough cut of her documentary, but she never actually went through the process of making shorts. But most filmmakers go through the process of making shorts. And often I think that they're not clear about what the value is of their shorts, and they think that they're going to get something out of it. And I'm not going to name any names, but one of the things that I hear filmmakers do all the time is they say, I'm an award-winning filmmaker. And what they mean is they made a short film and it got into some film festivals and it won some prizes, but they're not actually film festivals that count. They are, you know, let's say I was just at the Urban Film Festival here in Miami, which is a great film festival. It's been around for 7 years, but I don't think winning a prize there would count for anything. The only ones that really count are like Sundance, Toronto, Cannes, Berlinale, Rotterdam, the majors that are the ones that truly, if you get your film into those film festivals, that will have an impact on your career. If you win a prize at those film festivals, that's going to win, that's going to impact your career. I had a client who produced a short that won the grand jury prize for short films at the Sundance Film Festival. Okay, so from now on, every single time he ever introduces himself and he says his name to people, he is a grand prize winner at Sundance. And that is going to impact his career dramatically. So you came up with all these great ideas for how to set your goals for a short. I put income as the one at the top to go, But the way that I think about it, as I said before, now with my beginner filmmakers, I give them the choice of raising $11,000 or $12,000, because the way I see that you make income on a short is you raise the money first and then you spend the money. I don't believe in my clients putting their hands in their pockets to use their own money and spend their savings. I don't believe in it, partly because if you keep spending your own savings to make films, eventually you can't get any further. You're still going to have to learn to raise money. So my attitude is, well, let's raise money now. Let's start learning how to raise money now when it's a small amount, before you need that $70,000, before you need that $150,000, that $1.5 million, right? Let's start learning how to raise money now and practice. And I actually have a phrase for it. I call it building your fundraising muscle. You know, so if we start with $11,000 or $12,000, which actually is a chunk of change, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. But filmmakers always have big numbers in their heads. So anyway, $11,000 or $12,000 is a lot of money. So I like to have my clients raise that money first and then make the short. And then they can get everything else out of the short. And I think, you know, maybe you pick your goals and maybe, you know, you get some of them, not necessarily all of them, but visibility is really a great one. We had an actor before talking about this. So I have an actor who came to me and she wanted to make a short film. And her goal, I asked her, was to get visible. Oh, I think I have to come out of this too. Darn it. Sorry, everybody. I've lost my, I see. Okay, let me let somebody in. All right. Back. So she had a script, and the script was for a short film. It had 4 people in it, and it was silent. There was no dialogue. And I said, well, you know, if you want to be visible out there as an actor, how is this going to help you? And she said, well, you know, acting without dialogue that's very hard work. And I said, no, I don't like this. I want you to be the star of your film. I don't want it to be an ensemble with 4 people and you all have equal. No. So she was like, oh, I don't know. And finally, she wrote this funny script. I don't know where she came up with this idea. But anyway, she wrote this script about a sex worker who was early in her, Mark, would you mind muting yourself? I just
Sorry.
realized. She was very early in her career, and she was told to use a safe word with her clients if anything went wrong. So in this short, we meet her with this client and she's used the safe word, and the client became a statue. He's like this. She couldn't get him to come back to life. So she has to call her mentor on the phone, and anyway, it's hilarious. It's all about sex, but there's no sex in it. You know, there's no sex, there's no nudity, nothing like that. Hilarious. Anyway, so she made this short film, and every festival she enters, it wins something. Every single festival. So it wins best film, best comedy, best director, best actor, best something. Every single festival. And I don't think she's won any major festivals. She's definitely won some second-tier festivals. And now that we're coming out of COVID, she'll really be able to use that film as a networking tool, you know, because I always tell filmmakers, you know, I want you to apply for the majors, but I also want you to apply locally, just so that you can meet other filmmakers and other people who are really working on their film careers. So, you know, if you take a film to a festival, then you can meet other people who will work with you on your next film, who will work with you. One of my favorite filmmakers is, her name is Britt Marling. If I was not in this presentation, I would put the thing in, but anyway, Britt Marling, B-R-I-T, Marling, and she was in a short film. She's an actor. She was in a short film, and she was at a festival with the short film, and she met the people who became her director and her producer. And they've since worked together for probably 20 years. They made a very small budget feature film. They made another small budget feature film, another slightly bigger budget feature film, and then Netflix hired them to make a series called The OA. And all of their films, Britt Marling writes. And she also has a career in Hollywood as an actor, but she just finally realized, you know what? I want to be in the material I want to be in. And if you watch the films, or if anybody has seen the OA, has anybody here seen the OA? Yeah. I mean, it's different, right? It is really unique. And they say that there's no such thing as new stories. Their films are unique, really, really unique, but they're very contemporary, and they make a lot of sense to us as 21st century people, you know. So she definitely, her goal was to be able to write her own characters, you know, and it led to her meeting her, you know, 20-year long collaborators. So that's a great goal for a short film. So I have a theory for filmmakers in building their careers, which I call 2 shorts and a feature. And so as I said, all filmmakers are my heroes, but one of my very particular heroes is Barry Jenkins. And Barry Jenkins made 2 shorts before he made his first feature film. And he's from Miami, so he made his first 2 shorts in Miami, and he made them actually with a group of filmmakers here called Borscht, the Borscht Film Festival. And there are a bunch of young people who got together to make films. And thanks, Sheila. And so after he made his 2 shorts, what was Barry Jenkins' first feature film called? Write it in the chat if you know it. What was Barry Jenkins' first feature film called? Anybody? Anybody know? Okay. Barry Jenkins' first feature film was called Medicine for Melancholy. And a lot of times when I ask this question, people say Moonlight, because they assume that that was his first feature film, but it was not even remotely his first feature film. His first feature film was called Medicine for Melancholy. And would anyone, I know you haven't seen the film, so this is probably a silly question, but would anyone like to take a guess at what the budget was for Medicine for Melancholy? Right, you can write it in the chat or unmute and tell me. Take a guess, come on, take a guess. Put it in the chat, write it in the
50?
chat. 20K, 50K,
Yeah.
more guesses, more. 6K? Okay, Mark, he's my client, he's cheating. No, we're not cheating. 60K, lovely, more guesses, more guesses, more guesses. 10K, 15K, okay. It was 13K, $13,000. And he made Medicine for Melancholy in San Francisco, where he was living at the time. And a friend gave him $13,000. And he made a feature film that got into Sundance. And I often suggest this to filmmakers, is that you get that movie and you watch it and you ask yourself, first of all, could I make a film for $13,000, a feature film for $13,000? Wow, Diane says, wow. could I make a film for $13,000? And if I made a film for $13,000, could I get it into Sundance? You know, because that's a pretty amazing thing. Making a feature film for $13,000 is already mind-blowing. If you see the film, though, you'll see what he's doing with his little bit of money. You know, it reminds me of a film, Tangerine. Has anybody seen Tangerine? The first film that was shot on an iPhone? Well, in Tangerine, our hero, our heroine, our lead character, she finds out at the beginning of the film, which takes place over a day. Actually, Medicine Melancholy is very similar to that. It takes place in a day, in 24 hours or 48 hours, maybe, because I think there's a night in there. And she finds out in the morning that her boyfriend just got released from prison and he hasn't called her. That's the inciting incident. Her boyfriend hasn't called her. Where the hell is he? And she goes walking around LA looking for her boyfriend. And a lot of the film is her striding around, mad as hell, you know, in her high heels down the street. You know, there's a lot of the film is that. But so when you look at Medicine for Melancholy, then, you know, I'd like you to see how he manages to stretch this money. And then my second question is, why is that film at Sundance? What is it about that film that got it into Sundance in, what was the year somebody put? 2008. This is, I think, is a really, really important question. It's kind of the thing that I'm so hot about right now, is about a filmmaker knowing their audience, a filmmaker being able to speak to their audience in a truly intimate way that really shows that they know who their audience is and they're speaking to that audience. And I'm going to come back to this a little bit later. So I kind of blew through what was supposed to be our first break. And I'm going to have a break now. And we're going to come back 23 minutes. I'm going to do a 23 minutes break just because then we all know what time we're talking about. So at the top of the hour, I would like to come back at the top of the hour at 3 o'clock my time, noon Pacific, England. I don't know anymore, but we're going to come back and we're going to talk about making your first feature. And so, you know, use the break for whatever you like to do. But I would suggest that I'd love to have you write down anything you already know about what your first feature is going to be about. What is your first feature going to be? What it's going to be about? And then we'll hear about that when you come back. And I wrote this beautiful time schedule and I've already blown it. So I'm just trying to follow, like, what did I say? 2:15 to 2:30. Okay, so we'll come back at 3 o'clock my time and we'll be pretty much back on track. And we're going to go to making your first feature, which is going to be the next session. Okay, so see you back at 3 o'clock. And write down your first feature. What is it going to be about? Maybe the genre, maybe, you know, anything you can think about, anything you know about it. Okay, I'll see you back at the top of the hour. Hello, hello. Okay. One of the things that I learned from being too sick to work for 7 years, spending 7 years in bed, is that the only thing that I have the energy to do is things that are fun for me. So this is the fun for me best part. I get to hear what films you're going to make. Yay! So who is brave and would like to start and tell us what film you're going to make? You know, the fun thing about this is that we don't have to know how to get the money or anything like that. We're just going to make a movie. Okay, so who would like to jump in first? Diane. Yes.
Hi. So, and I realize that you already know this, Joanne, but so my first. Right. Okay. Well, so I am working on my first documentary feature. It's also the first project I've done that's a social justice I've worked on social justice pieces, but not necessarily my own. And so it's a feature documentary that's celebrating the stories of 5 professional female artists who have transcended experiences of sexual and or physical violence, and exploring how our artistic practices not only empower our ourselves, but our communities as well. And it's anchored on my own story of coming back and transcending an experience of a beating and a rape in 2010. So that's my first feature.
When are we going to see it?
So it should be, I would say next fall would be it would be ready for release in the fall of 2023.
Fabulous, fabulous. Thank you so much, Diane, for jumping in and being first. Who is next? Oh, I'm going to have to call names. Okay. Yinka, are you going to go next?
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Okay. It's a thriller, drama, metaphysical, and supernatural, romance, and satire.
No. Okay. I sent out an email.
Yeah.
Yesterday or today.
You
And
said 6.
I said one genre. So when you said thriller, I was like, yeah. And then you added all the others. No.
Okay, thriller. Thriller.
That's right.
Thriller.
Yeah. All right. And tell me a little bit about your film.
It's about, it's a thrilling, captivating, and startling, and
where does it take place?
Inspirational story about a young, sorry?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, about a woman's triumph over some very, very powerful, devilish forces.
Aha.
And then
I love it. Love it. Notice, Yinka, this is the first time I've seen Yinka on camera. Notice, this is a filmmaker issue. Notice now we're seeing you with white around you. See all that white? And then you move.
Oh, yeah.
And suddenly, right? So you're
okay, let me turn away from the white.
Yes, okay.
Sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
With filmmakers, we have to get this all right. So I would move it more. You need to move it more. Yes,
sorry.
That's it. And it won't do that thing with the light. Okay, fabulous. So against some devilish forces. Ooh. That's great. Excellent. So,
because some events that some people that they count as supernatural in places are actually natural events in some places. Yeah, the natural occurrences. Yeah.
Well, as soon as you say thriller, I'm in, because that's my favorite genre. I love thrillers. Thank you so much, Yinka, and so good to meet you face to face.
Thank you.
All right, who's next? Who's brave? Who's brave? Who's brave? Okay, Kremena.
Hi. Okay, so I'm making a documentary that explores the history, tradition, and modernity in the world of the Native American Mustang.
Oh, this is a new log line. I love it.
Yeah, I'm
Look, there's one
working
of
on
the horses
editing.
behind you. There's one of the horses behind you. Two horses.
Yeah, these are, yeah. So
Fabulous.
yeah, horses, Native American Mustangs. That's
Yes. Well,
that's the theme.
you're getting much sharper in how you're communicating what the film is about. So that's great. A documentary.
I'd like to finish it by next Wednesday, like the rough cut. So that broader vision, you know, that's where I'm at. So yeah.
Yes. Yes. So who else? I can name names. Brandy. What film would you like to make for your first feature film?
See, that's I have a couple and I don't know which one I want to do first, but that's because I do a lot of writing. So so I have a story in my head that isn't fully, I'm also a writer who, like, the story doesn't complete until I actually write it. And I haven't written this yet, but there's one where a woman lives a certain life for a period of time. And then when she hits a certain type of challenge, she completely remakes herself into a totally different person, like physically, and she presents completely differently. And so she like remakes herself several times until she has to actually face this challenge, until she faces the actual internal
who she really is.
Yeah, who she really is.
Really is, yeah.
So that's one. And then there's also, I read, this is kind of, I read a biography on Margaret Wise Brown, who wrote Goodnight Moon. And she is a fascinating person. She was a fascinating person, and her life was extremely fascinating. So I'd love to do like historical fiction on her life and the trajectory of her life and the
what period was she?
I'm sorry?
What period was she?
Like in the 50s.
Okay.
She was a children's book author.
Okay. And then in the first one, did this woman, because of her ability to change, did she do bad things?
Well, the thing is, she could never have a complete relationship with people. She couldn't connect and be, completely connected, because she would have to break away whenever she would hit this challenge. So she could never deeply connect until she overcomes.
Do people think she does bad things to them?
Yeah, well, the main bad thing.
Trying to be super simple.
Yeah. She leaves, and she disappears. So
and are they devastated by that?
Right. Yes, because they love her, right? Because they formed attachments to her.
Yes.
So yeah, and then she's just not great in interpersonal relationships because, so yeah. So those are my two top. Yes. I have other ideas, but I'm like, no,
I'm sure. There's always more ideas,
Right.
Okay, thank you so much, Brandy, for letting me pick on you.
Welcome. Anytime.
Phyllis, what's your film you're going to make?
Well, it's not going to happen for a while, because here's the thing. So my brother's a writer, and I love his writing. And so he has written 2 shorts that I hope to put on film. And one of them could very easily be expanded into a feature. And so that's what I'm kind of hoping to, I'm hoping for that trajectory. Once I can get the short done, to use that to maybe be able to fund doing, expanding that world and doing a feature. And it's a really interesting kind of juxtaposition between our modern, like the short takes place partially in like a coffee shop where our protagonist is waiting in line in a very like pedestrian kind of situation here. And that's juxtaposed with him being like this great warrior in this intergalactic war of sorts. And you don't really know if this is just all in his head or if he really is this intergalactic warrior. So it's kind of like,
Have you seen Everything Everywhere All at Once?
I love that movie. That is the best movie I have ever seen, ever.
Best movie I have ever seen, ever. I just want everybody to notice that 2 people said that. I have watched movies. I have never said this is the best movie I've ever seen until I saw that movie.
Yep.
I think it was the second time I saw it that I went, that's the best movie I've ever seen.
Yes, Stephen, A24 is the best.
Well, that's true. That's true.
And I do want to
Everything
say, I
Everywhere All
appreciate, Joanne, I appreciate your scarf.
I was really shocked by something I heard on the news today, so I just wanted to wear it.
Yep, I appreciate that.
1,300 people were arrested in Russia for protesting the war. And I saw one of them being dragged away, and I thought, well, thank God, if they go to prison, they don't have to worry about getting conscripted. And about an hour later, I heard that they are all being sent to the front. I just speechless. So I'm just wearing this to. Okay, who is next? John Mark. John Mark.
All right, this is different than the conversation and you and I had earlier this year.
You're allowed to change your mind.
I want to make those other films too, but this one I want to make, I think, first. It's a made-for-TV rom-com called The Meter Maid. And I'll just read the log line. How about that? Elizabeth Gordon is Pine Grove's newly elected district attorney, finding herself at odds with Mark Barrett, a down-on-his-luck city police officer, when she takes him to court over a parking violation. As their ideas about life, politics, and how to raise children collide, both discover a second chance for happiness, love, and family.
I don't watch those kind of movies, but I thought that was great. Now, who's the meter maid?
Oh, Mark. Mark has some beliefs that are not exactly mainstream. And so in the very small town of Pine Grove, which is Pacific Grove, of course, in the small town of Pine Grove, he actually gets demoted on the police force and reassigned to the parking enforcement division. And so, so this is where the conflict arises. So.
Oh, I love it. My friend who I'm staying with is just addicted to romance movies. And when I go and look on her TV and I can't find anything. There's no dead bodies anywhere.
So this is sort of like reverse Hallmark, right?
Why is it reverse?
Well, whereas usually the female, it's female centric. It's sort of up, turning it upside down, turning the formula upside down a little bit.
Right. Backwards, turning it backwards. Yeah.
So Mark is the focus.
They would be open to it. I have a client who, when she started working with me, she started working with me on a documentary, and now she has sold a script to Hallmark and is in the process of selling a script to Lifetime. So
that's definitely the audience I'm going for.
yes, yes, yes. It's so funny because you know, my friend, I don't tease her, but everybody else teases her about the films she watches, and she just loves them, you know, and I can't make it all the way through one of those films, but it's and what my client had to do was just rewrite and rewrite and rewrite because they know their formula so perfectly and nobody can possibly know it. You know, you have to learn it, but they gave her the time to really, you know, hone it until she got that right. So
I'd also like to target Real One Entertainment, which is a company a little bit underneath Hallmark that does these kind of, and I think their stuff appears like on Inspiration Network or something like that. So
oh, very good. See, I'm really about that, right? Know where your distribution is going to be because you can tailor the work to that. And I think that is a very positive thing. So good job. Good job.
thank you.
Okay, who's left? Josh, what feature film are you going to make?
Yeah, I'm still a little unsure about the direction just because I think I found a collaborator and it might, depending on what his contribution to it, it might change the genre from romantic comedy musical to sci-fi romantic comedy musical.
Josh, I just
No,
told
I know you said only one genre. I know you said, but for one, romantic comedy is one genre.
yeah,
Romantic comedy musical technically is one genre
technically,
because
okay,
the singing is
all
a
right,
result
I'll
of the
forgive you.
romance and the comedy. So
Yes.
the sci-fi, I shouldn't have brought it up, but I did because the main character might be an alien. Yeah, I'm playing with that idea. So no,
Oh.
okay. Maybe maybe I'll just not have the alien part and that'll stick to one genre.
Since I have you on, why is it that multiple genres is exciting for you? And it just sounds like a mess to me. Why is it exciting to you?
I just feel like real life contains more than one genre.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, that's a really good. Have you seen Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
genre is it?
It's martial arts, comedy, mother-daughter thing. I don't know what to call it.
Anybody else? What genre is Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Are you looking for someone else?
Yeah, anybody. What genre
So
is it?
it's a Christmas love story.
Oh, is it Christmas? Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It's Christmas. Yes.
So I'm just going to give you the log line. It's two teens become rivals during a Christmas play.
Hold on, Sonia.
Okay.
I wasn't quite finished with Josh.
I'm sorry. I
No.
apologize.
Don't apologize. No worries. So Everything Everywhere All at Once is a comedy.
Yeah.
Zip. Right. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to tell us everything that's in the film, and the Daniels made Everything Everywhere All at Once with a goal of putting everything in the film. They said, did we succeed at getting everything in the film?
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is it's a comedy, and that's how you sell it. You know, it's a comedy. So you can have other things in the film, but you don't have to necessarily say them as you're trying to get people involved in the film. You can hide those things until later, right? So what's the story? What's the story in a sentence or so?
Yeah, I'm just trying to
An
basically
alien falls in love and
I was working at this I was working on this for some time and then I stepped away from it to work on another idea, and and I was like all set to do it, but then something told me like, no, work on the comedy. And I mean, the story just is basically coming of age, just the trajectory is like, he's looking for love, and then through that he sort of comes to learn more about himself, kind of movie. But it's funny, so people will
Yes.
enjoy it.
Yes.
And it's set in a movie theater.
Ah, that's nice.
Which
I
is
love
kind
movies
of
about
a different. Yeah, you don't see too many movies set at movie theaters.
No, you don't. And right now I have 2 clients with movies set at movie theaters. So if they end up making those films, then we'll have 2 more. But I think it's a great setting for a movie. And everybody's had the experience of going to the movies, so I think that's great. Excellent. Okay, who have I left out? Sonia, you go now. And then Jody, I'll come to you.
I apologize, everyone.
No,
Mark,
no,
next.
no apologies.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mark, were you next? I saw you raising your hand.
No, you are. I just was raising my hand.
Okay. That's what they do in church. So I was just wondering. So,
Amen.
Sonia, are you really in Detroit?
Yes, ma'am.
I've been to Detroit twice. I love it.
You need to come again. When was the last time you were here?
Oh, maybe 6 years ago.
Oh my God. You probably want to move here now. It's
really? No, I wanted to move there then.
It is awesome. I love it. I love this city.
There then. Yeah,
A lot
I'm
of
afraid of the cold.
Oh, you'll be all right. Me too. And I've been here for years, all my life. Every year I say I'm going to buy a snowblower. Have not bought one yet. So, basically, the name of my feature is going to be A Love for Christmas. And the log line is 2 teens become rivals during a Christmas play, only to discover there are unexpected Christmas surprises awaiting the both of them. So, and I'm really excited about this. We start writing in October, and hopefully we'll be shooting by November.
Fantastic. This is going to be your first feature?
Yes. I'm so excited. I have a board at home of all the movies. I have something called something I want to write something like Chi-Town, but I grew up on this street called Burner Avenue. And so it was like the intersection between the suburbs and the city. So suburbians would drive down that street to get to the suburbs, and all kind of things was happening. And so it's like 4 or 5 stories within that.
Wow.
So
where was that? You grew up on Vernon Avenue? Where was that?
That's it's in Detroit. It's
it's also Detroit.
Yes.
Oh, you grew up there as well. So you've seen a massive change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love going downtown.
Fabulous.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
You gotta come.
Oh, I love it. I love it. My best friend was at law school at Michigan.
Oh, I graduated from U of M.
Yeah, so we would go to Detroit. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Jody, what is your movie? This is so fun. Oh my God. I hope
it is fun.
As I'm having, because I'm having.
So I decided to create something around what I have available to me as far as actors and locations are concerned.
Very smart.
Right, and super low budget. So I came up with a concept for a very simple drama titled Exit. And it's about a middle-aged guy, he's more in his 40s. And he gets given the diagnosis of cancer and told he's got 3 months to live. So his reaction to that is to sell everything he owns and try to find a quiet place to die. So he tries like going off in the woods and finding some quiet place to die, but he doesn't get the chance to because it's actually not legal to go die somewhere. Nobody will let you do that. So people keep finding him and bringing him back. And in the end, 6 months has passed. He's spent a lot of time foraging and living in the woods. He ends up going back to the doctor because he's feeling amazing. And they find out he actually doesn't have cancer. Very simple, very cute.
Is it a comedy?
No, it's just a drama, but it's so easy to have like one main character and then just have other people pop in. So it can have, a day rate for a name actor pop in, right? So building around what I got.
Did you know that David Geffen had the same story? The music producer had the same story. They gave it. He spent 3 years traveling around the world, ready to die, and it turned out he had somebody else's test results.
I had a friend who thought he was going to die. He nearly killed himself first, and then cancer was gone.
Yeah, it's a healing story and also a mind belief, a story about mindset, about what we believe.
Yes, beautiful, beautiful.
So Mark, what was the name of that director again?
He's not a director.
David Geffen, he's a music producer.
Geffen. Okay, Mark, what's your film?
So my film is a dramatic period piece set in 1910, and I'm working on my log line, but I need to shorten it down. It's about the same characters that are in my documentary, only it's dramatized. And Mabel Dodge is an independently wealthy feminist writer at the dawn of the 20th century, married to the wrong man. In 1917, her search for love and freedom brought her from Greenwich Village, New York to Taos, New Mexico for all the wrong reasons. In Taos, she meets a married, full-blooded Tiwa Indian from Taos Pueblo, whom she has literally met in her dreams. Now she must decide whether to maintain the status quo or break up two families from very different worlds. I'm going to shorten it.
No, but that's great. That's great. I think that's the furthest along I've ever heard you with that story.
Good.
Yeah, it's really good.
So it's a dramatic period piece or a historic drama. What would you call it?
I would call it a historic drama.
Got it.
It technically be a romance. But I think it's important to say it's historic because that changes the budget dramatically if you have a historic piece.
So you think it's a historic romance then?
Should say historic romance. Yeah, historic romance. Yeah, let's go with that. I like it.
Named.
Done. Arvin, I think you are the very last.
Well, that's a good place to be.
That's absolutely fine.
Do you want to film, or do you want to, or I'm allowed to do a pilot? I could talk about a pilot, right?
You can. We will be touching on that tomorrow. But
go ahead. So I'm working on right now. It's a dark comedy. It's called Yummy Goodness, and it's about aliens who crash land on Earth and start a cooking show. And the main the humans are the main course.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that.
So it's like think like if you've ever been on, like, looked at the outdoor channels, like there's these like outdoor lifestyle cooking shows. So it's kind of like that.
Yeah, I think I saw one recently where they had oh gosh, what was it? But anyway, it was all about being in the outdoors. Oh, grilling, that's what it was. It was to do with grilling, and I thought it was really fun, whatever that show was. I'm staying with a friend, and so she has a TV. I never have a TV, so I don't channel surf usually, but it was really fun.
It originally I started writing it when I was in Ohio, so I had it taking place up near Lake Erie. There's a lot of like small towns and kind of little resort places where people go, and I was going to place it there. But as you see behind me, I'm not in Ohio anymore. I'm on the side of a mountain in the Southern Rockies. So I've thought about
Colorado.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So I've thought about redoing it here in the San Luis Valley, which is also very well known for all the UFO sightings and weird things that go on down here. So, yeah. Oh, she froze up on me.
Arvin, I love that title.
Thank you. Thank you. And it will be a procedural, like every episode will be like a new recipe. So.
Arvin, there's a Twilight Zone episode called
I know
How to Serve Man.
Yep. Yep.
It's a cookbook.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm going to talk about series tomorrow. The one thing I would say, I think my Wi-Fi went off for a minute there, so I missed a bit, but I wanted to say that when you're not particularly married to a location, I would suggest that you start looking at tax incentives.
Yeah.
You know, because right now, Georgia is famous for having these great tax incentives, like 40% or something. And so recently I was at the American Black Film Festival here, and this lawyer was on from Atlanta, and she was talking about the tax incentives and, you know, all that. And I was making notes and making texts and stuff. And so I said about the tax incentives there being 40%, which is a very, very sore point to us here in Miami, because we lost our tax incentives in Florida, and lost all our production to Georgia. And somebody wrote on my Instagram post and said, I'm getting 70% here in Duluth, Minnesota, and he's now my client.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Minnesota, because the only thing I would be beholden to is there being a large body of water, like a big lake. So
yeah. Well, there are lakes in most places.
Yeah.
You know, but that's great. That's super funny. What genre do you think it is?
Well, before somebody else here got
shellacking,
I want to use, I would have said a science fiction dark comedy, but I'll just say
that's all right. No, that's all right, because comedy is the genre. Dark is a sort of a flavor, but it's not a different genre. It's just a, you know, and then sci-fi is not a genre. Sci-fi is the world.
Oh, okay.
So we can have sci-fi, and it could be a horror, it could be a comedy, it could be, right?
Okay.
Horror, you know. So sci-fi is the world. It's a little bit like if somebody says, I'm making a drama, which is the genre, or if I'm making an LGBT drama.
Got it.
So LGBT would be the world, right?
I'm glad to know no one's calling the filmmaking police on me. Or I'm getting in the corner. Okay, that's good.
Later. No.
Okay. That works.
Sarah has a question. Or did we miss you, Sarah? We missed you? We skipped you.
My internet went down, so I got missed out. I just wanted to be, I could have just let that go. I could have just
You could have hidden in the back.
I would let that go. But hey, this is it. It's called Xmas, EXMAS.
Oh.
And it's a comedy about a young man called William who, rather than have all his ex-partners be on their own at Christmas, he invites them to a rented castle in Scotland with his parents, and the castle turns out to be haunted.
Ooh.
There we are. That's it. That's it. I haven't got a log line for it yet, but that's the premise.
Comedy, right?
It is a comedy. Yes, it is a comedy.
Yes. It could be a thriller.
It could be a
It
thriller.
could be a horror.
It could be.
It could be a horror film if they start getting bumped off one by one.
Yeah.
It would be a thriller if he was bumping them off one by one. But that's very, very cool. And the Scottish castle, great idea. There might be some other countries where they might be cheaper than Scotland, but
You could always go to Transylvania. I hear there's quite good production things in Transylvania.
that's right. That's absolutely correct. That's absolutely correct. Well, this was so fun for me. And, you know, that's what counts. But I hope it was fun for you to hear everybody's films and what you would like to do. And so what I would like to add to this is thinking about, I think Jody brought this up, and Sonia is well on the way to producing her film. So this is going to have some sort of impact, but is to start thinking about, okay, well, this is my idea. Now, if I actually want to go into production and make this really happen, how do I need to think about it? And Jody was saying, well, you know, I'm choosing this idea because it's something that I can actually wrap my brains around and make happen. The reason I was bringing up tax incentives is because if the place that you're living has a tax incentive, then that might be something that you really want to think about. I recently had a client who said, and I may be getting this wrong, but I think she said, I live in Arizona, but I'm going to go to New Mexico because they have tax incentives. But her film was going to be $100,000, and the tax incentives, well, Mark would know this, I don't really know, but the tax incentives in the state she was going to move to, they don't give tax incentives at $100,000. They start at $500,000 or something. So I was like, no, there's no point in moving. So the tax incentive thing is going to depend on what your budget is. And so some places have a budget that might work with your budget, and some places don't. And so that makes a big difference in making your choices. Oh, Stephen, we left you out. Who else? Is there anybody else that I left out? Stephen, do you want to share your film with us that you're going to make? I'm so sorry. I have a couple of people here at the bottom that I wasn't seeing on my page. Go ahead, Stephen.
Hi there. Yeah, I think it happened right when your video cut out or something. So mine is sort of based on Earth, but it's also sort of science fiction-y, but it's intended to include real science and speculative science related to the paranormal. So it kind of mixes the paranormal, what people call the paranormal with science and science fiction. And I don't want to give out the details because I think something of this epic scale would probably cost in the billions. That's with a B. So to make.
What's the micro budget version?
The micro budget version, $500 million.
So you know what that could mean as I started going into this conversation. Let me see. Mark and Samsung Galaxy. Are you able to speak? Either of you, Mark or Samsung Galaxy?
Me, Mark G, or John
No. There's a Mark Berry, Mark R. Berry.
Okay.
And they haven't said anything, so I'm just wondering maybe they can't speak.
It was also
Okay.
Sorry, this is a work day for me, so I've been like half listening the whole time. So I'm jumping in and out, but I'm very much enjoying it.
What is your movie you're going to make?
I don't have a log line or a tagline or anything, but it's a period thriller based kind of like a Civil War veteran is suffering with enormous PTSD to the extent that it's causing marital problems. And a lot of things go on. There's Union officers after him for war crimes and all this stuff goes on, but he has a friend that comes to help him on a quest to save his wife from the captors. And the big twist is that his friend died in the war and is a product of his PTSD. And that big reveal is at the end of the movie. And even though the movie has a lot of moving parts, the big case study of it is on the effects of PTSD.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. When
So-
I first moved to America, one of the first films I saw was made by University of Miami students. That's where I came to study. And it was about the effects of PTSD, and it
Yeah.
starred, who is the guy from Miami Vice? The white guy from Miami Vice?
Don Johnson.
Don Johnson, yeah, it starred Don Johnson as the vet. And, you know, and I was just amazed because when the lights went up, it turned out the theater was full of vets.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
they all come
Yeah.
out to see the movie, yeah, and they'll come out
Mhm.
to see your movie as well.
Well, we'll
Yeah,
see.
they'll all come out to see your movie.
All right.
Stephen Lynn, can you speak? Yay, what's your film?
I'm not working on a film right now, but I would like to create something in the dramatic thriller genre.
Okay, that's called a thriller. Just the thriller, not dramatic thriller. It's just called a thriller. Go ahead. Tell us a little about your film.
Well, I haven't really thought about the details or anything. I literally just thought of the genre right now
Oh,
like,
okay.
joining this session, and
Yeah.
the subject. I'm like, oh, let me think about this, because I never really thought about making films like this, because I only make like musical content, like music videos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is different, but it's also very interesting. Learning about festivals and all this is very interesting.
Yes. Awesome. Oh, so good to have you. There's a great tradition of music video directors turning into fantastic filmmakers.
Right.
Can I think of one now? No. I want to say the guy who makes all the movies in Haiti. He came from music direction. Anyway. Yeah. But good to have you. Samsung Galaxy A10x1. Can you speak? I think not. Maybe, you know, if you can, let me know. Okay, Jimmy, what's your next movie going to be? There's another person who's already made a feature.
Yeah,
What's
thanks to
your
Joanne,
next movie?
actually. And I will say I didn't know what I was doing. Still don't fully know what I'm doing. And definitely wouldn't have done it without your help, Joanne. So I can get my $50 later.
Yes.
Okay, so I have to. I'm it's like magical beat. Sorry, 50,000.
50,000.
I have to do two things. A few things I'm juggling. I'm just sitting with. So one is something around the issues around the strong Black woman. So a documentary like, this is the problem with the strong Black woman narrative and how that's causing damage and hurt. That's one thing I'm considering. I am thinking of doing a family film based on a young Black British girl. I live in England, so African Black British with her Afro-Caribbean British friend, and it's the issues around breaking the mystery of what happened, finding out the mystery, so solving the mystery of her missing older sister who had been hidden from her. And so she goes on this journey to her aunt's house, her very eccentric aunt, and uncovers what happened to her missing sister. And that's what I'm thinking about doing. I imagine shooting that in whatever kind of bankrupt lord that lives around where I live that needs some money. And we're trying to film in a couple of days. But it's one of those things. I'm definitely looking towards doing the documentary about the strong Black woman piece. But I want that to be still a lighter, not as heavy as the one I did, almost like a quirky, play. issue around Black women in play, Black women in toys, and something around that as a counter to the strong Black woman narrative.
Okay, is it about the strong Black woman, or is it about the myth of the strong Black woman?
I think it's about the myth and it's about the myth, and I want to do something that deconstructs that myth and explores the danger, the harm it causes us in terms of being in community with each other.
Yes.
Because we're not vulnerable to each other, but also present how women are thriving who don't embrace that at all, or who've been able to get past it. So showing that you can be resilient and do whatever you need to do, but you don't have to be so stoic, so hard. Understanding we needed to be that way because of the way we have to interact with the world.
Yeah,
Sonia's
I think Sonia's like, yep. But I think it's something, I think it's the myth or something like that. It's not really the strong Black woman, because you want to say
trope. Yeah, it's like the myth, the trope. Yeah, it's the
the trope, or the oh, thank you, Samsung Galaxy A10 for that message. Tell me your name as well. That would be lovely. Tell me your name. Yeah, and then I love the other story. And as I said, my thing that I'm absolutely the hottest about right now is about audience and speaking to your audience. And so I just don't feel as though I've seen anything. Of course, I haven't seen everything, but I've seen anything about that British African experience. I've seen maybe a little bit about British Caribbean experience, especially because of now I'm going to forget his name. Brilliant Steve McQueen. Steve McQueen has really been able to bring a lot of the British Caribbean in small acts. I don't know if you've seen that, which is a series that Amazon made. He made a number of not short films, but like 1 hour films that tell stories that are just so familiar to me, growing up probably at the same time in London. And although he must be a few years, maybe 5 years older than me or something like that. So I feel as though I haven't seen that story. Although this year's Sundance, I think of it as the winning film at Sundance. I'm not actually sure if that's the case. Called Nanny, is about a woman who is, I believe, African, or an African immigrant. Anyway, and she's very educated and so on, but she is working as a nanny. And the film is called Nanny, and it is absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And I tell all my Caribbean filmmakers about it because they all really want to bring Caribbean folklore to the fore, but Nanny brings African folklore, which looks very similar to Caribbean folklore, into that story. And it's done brilliantly. Nanny is a great film. It's not out yet, so you can't see it yet, but it will be. Thanks for coming, Jimmy. And yeah, very excited to hear about those films. All right, so as I was saying, great to hear all your feature films, and what I'm hoping is that we can take this idea, and sometimes, like Stephen's film sounds like not even a third or a fourth film. It sounds more like a 10th film. If it's going to cost $1 billion, you kind of, you have to kind of build up to that. I think about Christopher Nolan's film. I just watched it again the other day, 1917. Christopher Nolan's film 1917, which basically is about, is based on stories that his grandfather told him about his experiences in World War I. And Christopher Nolan said, I had to get to a point in my career where I could get American money to make that movie. And 1917 is this kind of, I mean, it's an amazing historic reenactment of World War I, but it's done in 2 takes. You know, so Christopher Nolan gets to have his kind of experimental cake and eat it too, you know. And then the film before that, Dunkirk, was the first time he was able to access that, what he calls American money, to make his, you know, British World War movies kind of thing. So if you're going to make a film that's going to cost $1 billion, I suggest that there are going to be films before that. And so what happens is filmmakers, this is one of the places filmmakers get stuck. You know, they say, okay, well, I've made shorts, I'm going to make a feature, and then the number that they have for that feature is far too high. So for, oh gosh, you are so right, 1917 was Sam Mendes. Christopher Nolan was Dunkirk though, right? Okay, good, Josh. The movie Police, I hear. So what was I going to say? So the biggest place that I think filmmakers get stuck is between their short and their first feature. And so this particular chasm is a particularly huge one. And so sometimes filmmakers have paid out of their own pockets to make their shorts. Or as I said, you know, my clients might have raised $11,000, $12,000 to make a short. But then to go from that to making a feature seems like a really big leap. And it's a big leap on a lot of levels. It's a big leap on how much you have to shoot, the size of your cast, the size of your crew, the length of post-production. These are all exponentially bigger than on a short. You know, a short you tend to shoot in 1 or 2 days. I know there are people who do it differently than that, but 1 or 2 days to go to, you know, maybe 14 days for a feature is a big leap. But I like to start with the money. I always like to start with the money. How do we get the money to hire the people that we need? So I have had people make features for less money than this, but I like to start a feature at $40,000. Now, if we have $40,000 and we take Jodi's idea, we can probably make that film for $40,000. Jodi.
Yes, please. Yes, please. It would be primo. It would be incredible.
Well, do you think that you could make that film for $40,000?
I'm planning on making it for about $10,000 actually, because I have a lot of free resources available, but 40, yes, please.
Yes, yes. So
I'll put it into P&R.
I start my clients at 40, and then like with Jimmy, she said, okay, I'm going to raise 40. And then one day she said out of the blue, I'm going to raise 50, but then she ended up raising 70. So, but that's a great amount to start with for a super micro budget feature film. So a lot of times filmmakers have never made their first feature, and they're thinking that what they need to actually make their first feature is some huge number that actually they have no access to that kind of money, and it really just makes it that it's never going to happen, you know. So I'm much more interested in, well, how do we make it happen? So sometimes when clients start working with me, and you know, you're all super creative, so you have tons and tons of ideas, and they'll come with a project that's just really too big. And I have a client, Chris Johnson, who is in the middle of his 3rd feature film that he's making with me, and his 4th is going into production on December the 5th. But when he started working with me, he had been writing for many, many, many years, and he had 5 feature film scripts. They were all action thrillers. And if you know anything about action thrillers, action thrillers are big budget. So every one of his, one film that I remember that he wrote had, it was this big story about these truckers. In fact, trucker was in the title, Trucker's Cat was the story. So there were these truck drivers and they all kind of communicate with each other, and they're all ex-military. And then there's this woman who is current military, and she like not hijacks, that's not the right word, but she like takes over one of the trucks and they takes them on a mission and all this. Anyway, huge budget, once you start saying trucks and helicopters and all this stuff. So, he said, well, okay, I get the point about a micro budget. So he made his first film for about $100,000. And those I don't want to pretend $100,000 isn't a lot of money, because it's a lot of money. But for a lot of filmmakers, that's not the kind of number they're thinking. They're thinking of millions. I think Stephen today talking about billion is the first time I've heard the B word before in talking about, but I'm sorry, I was just getting distracted by the chat. That if you want to make a first feature, I think, start to think in terms of a modest budget, a conservative budget, because the truth is even $40,000 is a lot of money. I have a client who I think was a little surprised. He raised $67,000, and I think he thought he was going to raise more. I think he was disappointed that he raised only $67,000. And halfway through production, the film almost fell apart, almost didn't happen. And from that day, he never complained again about how small his budget was. And I think it was because he had a moment of realizing that if you flush $67,000 down the toilet, that's a massive amount of money to lose, a massive amount of money. So, I often will hear filmmakers say, that they want millions of dollars for their first feature. But if they could just really think in terms of 40,000, 50,000, 100,000, that is certainly sufficient money to pay your cast, pay your crew. I even suggest to my clients that they use SAG day rates, whether they're making a SAG film or not. SAG day rates, which is now about $200 a day. And Mark, I don't know if you guys would mind stopping in the chat, but it's totally throwing me off. I usually don't look at the chat, but for some reason it's throwing me off.
Sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. So these micro budget films can definitely reach an audience. And my absolute bottom line for my clients is that I want them to get distribution. I want them to use that feature film to get into the industry and make money. I prefer that my clients go into distribution without owing anybody any money. So we don't defer payments, we don't defer money to people. We pay everybody. Maybe we don't pay them very much, but we pay them something that's decent. And maybe we don't pay them their day rates, but we pay them money. And they can go and get their day rates working for Nike. I don't know why I'm always pointing the finger at Nike, but I'm always saying, they can go make their day rates at Nike. They don't have to make their day rates with us, with the kind of films that we've been talking about. Sarah, what's your question?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I used to be a production manager, and I used to work with in independent films, especially with a guy called Derek Jarman.
Oh, Derek Jarman. Oh my gosh. You worked with Derek Jarman?
I did, yes. I was a very lucky girl, I have to say. He was my mentor, a wonderful, wonderful filmmaker.
Oh my gosh.
And whilst you're talking about this, is what I'm meaning earlier about putting the money on the screen. And what we used to do is exactly what you're saying, is that everybody, heads of department were all paid the same, and they could see that they were being paid the same, and everybody else would, you know, and there wasn't a great difference. There was a little bit of a difference, but everybody was paid the same and everybody knew it. And they were there for the love of Derek, really, because he could turn a paper bag into a,
yes,
you know, I mean, silk purse, etc. But I just wanted to say that I totally agree with you. It is about fairness and so on. That's how you get those tiny things done, I think.
Oh my God, I am so privileged to meet you.
Thank you, thank you. It's great to be here.
Early days when I I wasn't running the cinema yet, but we became very well known for showing LGBT films, and this was before LGBT films was a thing. But I remember that we used to show Derek Jarman's short experimental work, but we showed Edward II.
Oh wow, I did that one.
Yeah, what did you do on Edward II?
I production managed it.
Wow, fantastic. Oh my goodness, I could go on about Derek Jarman all day.
Me too. Let's not.
Caravaggio.
Yep.
So and it's great, you know, to think that such a great director was working with very small budgets. I think, was Edward II his last film?
No, he went on to do Wittgenstein and then Blue. Blue was the last one.
Oh, God, I haven't even seen Blue. So, but it's really interesting that, you know, somebody of such profound creativity was working with small budgets, and he really came from experimental filmmaking, which is where I come from. Yeah, oh, that's very exciting. Now you've completely thrown me off. But that's great. That's super exciting to have you here. And so I'm just gonna, I was gonna end at 4. I'm gonna run just a few minutes over, maybe 10 minutes, and go back to my little thing here. So making your first feature to me is like the biggest step up, the biggest hurdle that any filmmaker is gonna need to cross. And so, you know, there are so many strategies that I use in helping my clients make feature films, and I can't go into them all now, but one of them is to sort of think in terms of, how do I take this film and make it so that it fits into this modest budget? And then the other side of the piece, what I would say is, how do I make a film that is going to sell and that therefore will bring me income? And both those sides, I think, are really important. And you know, this question to me, which is, you know, who is my audience? And so I heard a lot of, you know, when you were talking about your stories, that there was no defined audience for your stories. And you were defining a story, but you're not defining an audience. And so the way that I think about filmmaking is, on the one hand, story, and, you know, I want everybody to be making excellent stories, but on the other hand, who am I marketing this to, and who's going to be watching this movie? Oh, I just had a brilliant idea. I'm going to give you a little exercise to do this evening before tomorrow. So John Sayles is another one of my very favorite directors. I had the privilege of meeting him when I was first in Miami back in the 80s, I guess. And John Sayles, this isn't an exact quote, but he said something like, after I made my first movie, I realized I was either going to have to learn to raise money or get a new set of friends. And his most recent films include Lone Star and things like that. But his first film, let me see, what was his first film? why can't I see? One of the early ones was Brother from Another Planet. His first movie, though, why is it not? Oh, here we go. His first movie was called, his first movie was The Return of the Secaucus Seven. The Return of the Secaucus Seven really was kind of pilfered from him and turned into a much more famous movie called The Big Chill. And John Sayles, when he was asked, well, you know, does it bother you that The Big Chill did better than your film? He said no, because once The Big Chill became kind of a cult classic, you know, they started rolling out my film at the same time, you know. So he made that in 1980. So that was the film that he made with his friends. And then Liana is the next film he made in 1983. And this is, I think, very interesting because as far as I know, he's a straight man. Liana is about a happily married woman who comes to realize herself as a repressed lesbian after she has an affair with a college professor. And in those days, there were almost no movies that had lesbians in them, certainly not in the lead roles. So that was very interesting thinking about audience. And tomorrow, what I'm going to do is talk about the process of raising the money to make your features and seeing maybe if we can look at the features that you are planning on making and see how we can look at what the budget is for those features and how we can kind of, you know, drill that down. Sometimes, as I said, it's going to have to wait until, you know, feature number 2 or feature number 3. But if you can get the right script, which really lowers costs, then it can be done for that, you know, $40,000 to $100,000 level. And we don't need to be, you know, trying to find millions and millions of dollars to make our first feature film, which nobody's going to give you anyway. So, but, you know, I've met people who have literally spent years and years and years and years and years and years and years looking for somebody to give them those millions of dollars, and it's just not going to happen. I'm not saying it never, never, never happens, but it pretty much never, never, never happens. And you know, even as I said, when people think that Barry Jenkins' first film is Moonlight, which was a $1.5 million budget movie, it wasn't. Medicine for Melancholy was his first movie. And that was when he came to the attention of A24 and of Brad Pitt and of all those kind of people. They were interested in him from Medicine for Melancholy. And so many filmmakers think that, you know, their first short is going to get them their first feature. And I always say, you know, and by the way, Barry Jenkins, anytime he opens his mouth, you know, he's a genius. So for lesser mortals such as myself, maybe we need to start somewhere smaller, you know. So that's really what I want to say about making your first feature for today. So tomorrow we are back at 1:30 Eastern time, 10:30 Pacific. And as I said, what it says, what I told myself I was going to do, the order of things is we're going to look at raising money and, you know, sort of tying it to your films. And then in the afternoon, we'll go more specifically into the 7 types of fundraising. And who is feeling more confident that they can make their feature films? Oh my goodness, I'm going to have to turn around the rest of you by tomorrow. I've got another day to do it. Oh, more hands, more hands. Okay, I got maybe about half of you, and I'll get the other half tomorrow. Okay, we'll have more confidence about making our films tomorrow, and we'll get to the series question for you, Arvin. I'll save that one. All right. Bye, everybody. Oh, no. no. I've got to give you your assignment. This is your assignment. Oh, Stephen came back. All right, this is your assignment. On Tubi TV, there is a movie called Secret Society. And I can be pretty much, just checking, 100% sure that that movie was not made for anybody in this room. 100% sure that movie was not made for anyone in this room. And I would like you to push yourself to watch 20 minutes of this film. 20 minutes. It's called Secret Society. I just met the director and the writer a few weeks ago. And they were making money on Tubi with the film. And then, I mean, sorry, on Amazon, they were making money with the movie. And a colleague persuaded them to put it on Tubi, which they hadn't heard of and they didn't know anything about. So they didn't, you know, have much interest. And they put it on Tubi and it made $100,000 in the first week. So, as I said, this movie was not made for you. Okay. And so normally when movies are made for another audience, we don't watch them. You know, we're straight, we don't watch LGBT movies. We're white, we don't watch African-American movies. We're Black, we don't watch Latino movies, right? Whatever. They're made for specific, like I don't watch my friends' romance movies. We all are specific in what we like. We're all specific in terms of genre. We're all specific in terms of things. I'm going to ask you to take 20 minutes and watch something that you would never, ever, ever watch. And then tomorrow, I'm going to find out from you why this movie made $100,000 in 1 week. Okay, but you have to get to about 20 to get it. Okay.
What is the name of that movie again?
I put it all in the chat. It's Secret Society. I put the IMDb link in the chat. So Secret Society, but it's on Amazon, but it's on Tubi, and it's free. It has ads, but actually I've got the link here.
Hey, Joanne.
Yep.
I saw that movie already. It's fantastic.
Who said that? Sonia.
Sonia.
Okay, don't tell anybody anything.
I'm not going to say one word.
Don't tell anybody anything.
It's worth it.
I'm actually surprised that you watched it, but we'll find out. 20 minutes, we find out what it's really about. Okay, so that's your assignment, and I'll see you tomorrow at on the same Zoom and, you know, all of that good stuff. Okay, enjoy Secret Society. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. See you tomorrow. Thanks.
Enjoy it, everybody. Have a good day.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye, Joanne. Thank you.
Bye, both.
Thank you, Joanne.
Bye, Diane. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye. See you tomorrow.